You're watching episode number 22 of the Hong Kong Racing Show. Andrew Brown and Alex Evers here to get you up to speed with everything in the world of Hong Kong racing viewed through a North American lens. Later in the show, we'll preview the feature race at Sha Tin this weekend and share our best bets for the card. Shortly, we're going to be joined by Hong Kong's leading jockey, Zac Purton, to get the latest on his recovery after a nasty fall at Sha Tin last weekend. There was a separate fall also that involved jockey Vincent Ho. Alex, I know you've been across this story this week. Let's start firstly with Vincent. What's the latest with him?
It remains in the hospital, but from what I've heard, he's out of ICU and into general care. So he's got a couple more days in the hospital from a nasty fall. And that was one of the worst I've seen in a while, and in kind of unusual circumstances too, because the horse was just tired, bumped off balance, and lawn darted to the ground, excuse me. So we're praying for him. Our thoughts are with him and everybody else. And good to talk to Zac here in a little bit and hear how everyone's recovering. But the reality of it is it's such a tough sport, and we enjoy like the highs and we enjoy the celebratory moments and the big grade one wins. And then the other side of it is the tragedy and the heartbreak and the recovery and all this. So partly what makes racing great, partly what makes it really tough to watch sometimes, but we carry on.
Yeah, the other guys involved in that fall with Zac, Keith Young, an update on him. He suffered some injuries to his left shoulder and legs, anticipated to make a full recovery, though, in 2 to 3 weeks. Angus Chung, he sustained a fracture of the right facial bone. Doesn't require surgery, which is good news. Expected to resume riding within 4 to 6 weeks. Now, given that these guys are out for a while, the Jockey Club has been very busy recruiting some star jockeys from all around the world to help fill the void. Holly Doyle and Tom Marquardt will ride this weekend at Sha Tin, and next Wednesday at Happy Valley. You'll also be seeing Richard Kingscote, James Orman, and Declan McDonough in the PPs in the coming weeks. And Ryan Moore will also be in town from late February. And we're happy to be joined by Zac Purton in Hong Kong to get the latest. Zac, we're pleased to see you back on your feet, so to speak. How's the recovery from surgery going, and what does the road ahead look like for you in terms of rehabilitation now?
So the surgery went well. It was all straightforward. There were no complications. They put the 3 bones that were apart back together and pinned them. Unfortunately, with the pins, they stay in for a month. So they stick out through the skin. There's not much I can do while it's like that, because I got to make sure I don't get it infected, and you got to give the bones time to heal. And then with the pin sticking out of my foot, I can't put a shoe on or anything like that. So I'm really restricted with what I do. I'm in a moon boot as well and on crutches, but doing physio every day. For the first 7 to 10 days, I'll just take it easy, because it's very important that the bones are given that chance just to sort of set together. And then after that, I'm going to get into the gym that we have here and start doing some upper body stuff, and maybe in 2.5 weeks, start doing some light leg stuff. After sort of 2.5 weeks, they say I'm allowed to get on a stationary bike, and as long as I'm not using my toe, if I just use my heel, then I can tick over a little bit. So that'll help. And then once the 4 weeks is up, hopefully I get the all clear to get back on a horse, and best case scenario, I'll be back Derby Day.
Okay.
Derby Day, sometime towards the end of March, isn't it? God, you've got to be sick of hitting the turf, haven't you?
Yeah, I am, and sick of being in pile-ups as well. It's unfortunate that I've been tangled up in some bad falls the last couple of years, but very fortunate that it hasn't damaged me more than what it has. You know, a sort of broken toe here and a few fractures there is pretty good result, really. And you know, I'm in good spirits. I'm sort of fine about it. I've accepted it. It's going to be very disappointing to miss the key rides that I had coming up, not just in the big races, but I had a lot of nice young horses at the trials ready to start stepping out, and they're really important horses because, you know, they can win 2, 3, 4 races each towards the back end of the season and really help with the momentum that I had built. So that's going to be hard, but you know, it is what it is, and I'm just focused on the rehab now and trying to get back, like I said, for that key race meeting.
For your mindset, like how do you maintain that positive mindset where you're like thinking, why me? Or
or how do I get tangled up in this versus like I got to get back? Like, what's that like for you as an athlete?
Well, there's no use feeling sorry for myself. What's happened has happened. We can't change that. It's done. All I can do now is focus on my path forward, and that is going to physio as much as I can, doing my rehab properly, trying to maintain my fitness to a level that I'm allowed to, and then just look forward to getting back on the horses. And obviously, I'll start to program the horses again in the next few weeks because they generally race every sort of 2, 3, 4 weeks. So once we get through the next sort of 2 or 3 weeks, then I can start to try and slot them back in as I normally would do, and that'll give me something to look forward to. But I can't really think about the why me. It's it happens so quick that you don't have time to think about it at the time, and there's no use feeling sorry for myself. I've had a great season so far, and I'll get back and I'll get on with things again.
How hard is it managing your weight during times like this, Zac, when you're not sort of actively riding or in the gym and things like that, and just really focused on your rehab?
Yeah, well, that is a hard part, and obviously we've got a few dinners and social events booked coming up, and I'll still do them. I look forward to them. And I've slotted an extra couple of dinners in actually, but last night when we were at home, Nicole said, "What do you want for dinner?" So I got the cookbook out and I picked something, and that didn't suit her. She wanted to have fish, so she said, "No, I want fish." So we went back and I picked something else, and she said, "No, we're not having that. We're going to have that." And I said, "Well, why did you even ask me if you were going to do it anyway?" But she said, "No, we have to be healthy. You have to be strict. You have to look after your weight. I'm not going to let you get fat." So I've got my little gatekeeper there, keeping an eye on things already.
You always try and look for a silver lining with everything, right? Is there any silver lining to this aside from maybe able to go out for an extra couple of dinners that you just mentioned?
Well, the kids had a great time at hospital with the slumber party. They kindly let them sleep over, and I don't know if they were regretting that decision because they were using the beds like trampolines and they were creating a lot of noise. And I had to keep telling them, be quiet. This is a hospital. There are a few people in here in pain. So we had to manage them, but they enjoyed that. And then they've booked me in for everything: school pickup, sport, after school things. I'm going to be busier getting having a go around with them than I would be when I'm riding. So I'm going to be busy, but that's a good thing. I'll spend a little bit more time with them, and a lot of those things I miss out on. Some of their riding, some of their tennis, and their football and things like that. So it will be good to go and see how they're progressing. Nicole always takes the videos and shows me, and I do go to some things, but it'd be nice to be a little bit more involved than what I normally would be.
That's cool. Give you a lens into the retirement life right there.
Maybe I'll start riding a little bit longer.
Zac, among the rides you're no doubt going to be disappointing to miss over the coming weeks is, of course, on the superstar sprinter Ka Ying Rising, Karis Teetan replacing you on the David Hayes trainee. What's your message going to be to Karis?
Well, he's ridden him before. He rode him at the end of last season when he had a lightweight and I was in Japan. He won on him. He's kindly been going up to Trongfa and trialling when I haven't been going up there. So he deserves his opportunity. He doesn't need me to tell him anything. He knows the horse. It's his opportunity and his time to shine. So I won't impose myself there. I'll just let him do his thing.
And just remind him, of course, that it's just temporary, though, I'm sure.
Oh, well, he knows that. And the owner of Ka Ying Rising come and see me in hospital as well. He was obviously disappointed to see me in the state that I was in, but it was nice of him to come in.
Yeah. He looked absolutely sensational in the Centenary Sprint Cup a few weeks back. What was he like to ride that day?
Yeah, he was a jet. He was back to his best. Obviously, International Day, the race sort of was run to upset him a little bit, and he still won. And that, if that's his poor performance, we know what his good performance looks like because he come out and done that again at the next start. He just loves, high speed, rolling along. He's really at home in that type of scenario. And, now he goes to 1400, which is going to be another test for him again. And, you probably got to ride him a little bit differently at 1400. But, when he's good, he's very good. And we've seen that a few times now.
On that race, did you know you were traveling at record time again?
I didn't know I was going record time. I knew I'd used him a little bit to get there, but he travels so comfortably mid-race. He was just in a really nice rhythm and just he was floating across the ground. So, the last thing I wanted to do when I had to make so much use of him to get him there was to then slam on the brakes and allow those horses that had done no work, that were sort of 7, 8, 9 lengths off me, to all of a sudden be 2 or 3 lengths off me, having done no work, and then have the chance to challenge and out sprint me. So I just let him use his rhythm and the natural speed that he's got to keep cruising along. But yeah, I didn't know we were breaking the track record again that time. But that's when you got a good horse.
When you're riding those front runners, what's that dance like between going fast and letting them just be comfortable and in that rhythm versus trying to conserve speed or trying to conserve stamina for the later stages in the race?
Yeah, well, every horse is different. They got different capabilities and characteristics. But I've always found on front runners that the key is not to go too slow, because you give away your advantage and you can choke them down. And you've done work to get there. You may as well have them in a nice rhythm and keep the field sort of not spread out, but in their positions. When you go too slow, it allows people to challenge you and come at you, and they're not too far away from you by the time you straighten. But if you just find a nice rhythm that sort of suits the horse, and then you can kick off it, well, the other horses have to try and catch you then. And I've always found for me that that's worked better than trying to strangle a horse down in front to go as slow as I can, because the clock says the slower you go, the more you can sprint, but it's not always the case.
So you talk about perhaps having to ride him a little differently over the 7 furlongs. Zach, what are you thinking in terms of when he does step up in trip?
Well, his next run will be at 1400. That'll be the race that Karis gets to ride him in. Yeah. So he'll have to decide what he wants to do there. But he's got so much natural early speed. He's either going to lead or be outside the leader. California Spangler obviously is in the race. If he draws inside him, he might lead, and Ka Ying can sit outside him. And he doesn't have to lead or sit outside. He can take a sit as well. He's a very versatile horse, but. Yeah, he's got the natural. So you won't have to push him from the gate. He's got the natural speed just to be in the right spot, and then I think it would just be finding a rhythm that he's comfortable in, and make sure he's relaxed during the mid stages, and he'll take care of the rest.
Does it excite you to think that there could be an opportunity to jump on his back at Royal Randwick in 2025?
Yeah, of course. That's what we want to do. That's where we want to go. I want to go. David wants to go. The owner's keen to go. They've already spoken to slot holders, and they've already got it. Oh, yeah, Alex wants to go. They've already got it all organised. So as long as the horse stays in form and keeps doing what he's doing at the moment, then he'll be going, and it's something that I'll be excited to be a part of. I've ridden in the Everest before, so I know what the day's like. It's a great day. Singing Sweet Caroline before the race.
Yeah.
Big crowd. It's basically my old home track as well. So it's always good to go back into your backyard. And with an exciting horse like him, it's something to obviously very much look forward to.
Yeah, that will be just absolutely awesome. I thought Coffs Harbour was your home track.
Well, I did start there as an apprentice, yeah. I might go back there one day too.
Oh, nice. I had to go back and watch the 2023 Champions and Chater Cup the other day after hearing you speak to Gareth Hall on SEN Australian radio. The only time you rode Romantic Warrior, and it's the only time he went beyond a mile and a quarter in his career too. You were aboard. Did I hear you say that had things gone differently that day, you'd still be on Romantic Warrior's back today?
Well, I believe so. Like if I went on him that day, I would have stayed on him. They wouldn't have changed jockey, which, every time that horse gets beat, the owner changes jockey. That's just what he does, and he's done it all the way through. But it's disappointing because Derek was on a horse that had no hope at all, was way out of form, and he just gave it to me from the 1,000-metre mark. And then he dropped out at the 500-metre mark. His horse was gone. It was a brain dead ride, and it's ended up costing me the ride on him. It would have been great to stay on him and go on the journey that he's gone on the last 18 months, but. Sometimes, one jockey can do something that can cost another jockey a lot. And in that case, Derek, he's cost me a lot.
And in a situation like that where you use the speed early and then to pull back off him and then ask him again to re-rally, is that something that's difficult for a horse to do?
You can't, especially at that distance. You can't make 2 runs in a race. And Derek made him make a run at the 1,000, and the horse still did make another run in the straight. He fought him off, picked himself up, kicked again, and unfortunately just got nutted on the line. It was sickening.
He's unique too because he's run at Happy Valley, he's run Japan, he's run Sha Tin, like
He's
now
such a
Dubai.
versatile horse. He's going left-handed, right-handed,
Yeah.
different ground. He's just a winner. He just puts himself in the right spot and knows how to win.
And the Saudi Cup, Alex and I were talking earlier, it's almost his race to lose now, despite the fact that he's never raced on dirt. The race is really falling apart. No Laurel River anymore. The last 2 Breeders' Cup Classic champions, Sierra Leone, the 2024 champion, and Waidabaria, the 2023 champion, that were going to contest the race. They're no longer going. I'd have to say it's probably between him and Forever Young, who our audience will be familiar with. He ran 3rd in the Kentucky Derby and 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Classic last year as well. But it seems now like it could be a race in 2 between those 2. Are you going to be tuning in with a lot of interest, Zac?
Yeah, I will. I haven't got much to do at the moment, so yeah, I will. And Hong Kong will as well. He's the highest earning money winner in the world, so there's no fluke in what he's done. He deserves all the credit he gets.
Yeah, for sure.
That is what's great about Hong Kong is they support their horses so much when they leave, and it's like the horses are representing the country and the people and the pride. It's really, really cool. It's almost like a whole sports team, but it's an entire country behind it.
Yeah, it's very, very much so. And when you come back to Hong Kong, the reception you get, it does make it feel very special.
Was it like that when you won the Yasuda Kanen? Like the crowd just went nuts and a lot of Hong Kong people over there?
I won the Takamatsumiya
That's
Kanen
right.
on Zero Velocity, yeah, and also obviously at Royal Ascot as well with Little Bridge and that, and Singapore and all the other races. But yeah, when you get back, everyone knows about it. It doesn't matter where you go, everyone's aware of it. So it makes you feel like you've represented the country well, and people appreciate it.
Is there any country that you'd really love to? I mean, you just rattled off a few countries there. You must have won Group 1s or Grade 1s in Australia, Hong Kong, Japan, UK, Singapore 5. Are there any others? And are there some countries still left that you'd love to ride a Group 1 or Grade 1 winner in?
Yeah, I'd love to come to the States and have a nice ride there. I sort of haven't had the opportunity to go over there yet. One thing though was Ka Ying Rising loves the dirt. You've got no idea how well he moves on the dirt. He floats across it.
I took photos of it. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's trial before we won the other day. I got off and I said to David Hayes, I said, if there's anywhere else you ever want to go, I said, it is America on the dirt. I said, he's incredible on it. So you never know. Maybe one day I can get him there.
That'd be awesome because he's got that gate speed, right, too, and he's just out of the gates, which is perfect for American racing. Could we see a Breeders' Cup sprint maybe in November? How would that work into the calendar? That's
too close.
Well, it wouldn't work this year because he's going to be in Australia.
Yeah.
How much is it worth? Because the Everest is worth a bit of money, and
probably going to worth 2.
That way.
That's the problem. Although the US dollar is pretty strong at the moment versus the Aussie peso, as it's called.
Well, I'm actually enjoying that because the Hong Kong dollar is pegged to the US dollar, so I'm earning a little bit more money at the moment when I'm sending it back home.
Nice. Just padding the retirement bank accounts back in Australia. I love it.
Yeah, a little bit of a top up.
Nice. Well, so you say, Zac, that you're hoping to be back by the Hong Kong Derby meet in March. Who's your Derby ride likely to be?
I've got a few up in the air at the moment. Obviously, I was going to ride Packing Angel in the Classic Cup, but outside of him, there's Stunning Peach. John Size has got a couple there. Packing Herma was still a possibility. Pierre Ung's got a couple there. So I was very, very much still up in the air, but Packing Angel was the one that I was going to ride in the Classic Cup.
How do you think he'll fare at 1800 in the Classic Cup?
I think he'd be fine. He's by Shocking, who won the Melbourne Cup. He relaxes well. He's he's got a nice horse to ride in the sense that he's got good gate speed. He puts himself in the right spot. He relaxes. He's got a really good turn of foot. The only thing he does is he's got a bad habit of hanging in really badly. It's just very hard to keep him straight. He loves to get back down to that fence, which is going to be his Achilles heel if he can't sort that out going forward. But he's got everything to suggest that he's the horse on the way out, and he could very well be able to take that next step. He's got to take it quickly, but I feel like he's capable of doing it.
No, he got me. He got me on that fence camera. I have a camera that's like right when you run on the rail, and he was beyond that. He was like boot against the paint, close to the fence that day.
Yeah. No, he's. I don't know. Even in track work, he does the same thing. So we're gonna at some stage he's got to start going straight.
Is that like a maturity thing, or will he benefit from more racing, or it's just his personality and that's just what he's comfortable doing?
It's what he's comfortable doing, but it's a personality and a habit thing. It's something that we've really got to try and get him out of, because they become so difficult to ride when they're lugging in and you got. It's like, okay, at the moment when he's accelerating past the other horses, and I've been able to let him sort of run in and use his rhythm. But when you got to start to fight him to keep him straight, you're going to be breaking his rhythm, and it's going to affect his performance. So he needs to sort that out.
Nice. Well, Zac, you've been very generous with your time with us once again. Thank you so much. As I said, we're pleased to hear that the surgery went well and you're making a good recovery. We hope it's quick and hope to see you back at the track really soon at the races. And also hopefully you can get a few of those extra dinners in, whether or not Nicole allows you to eat what you want.
I might just have to put a little bit from my plate to her plate. but we'll be right. Thank you. It's good to see you guys again, and we'll update at some stage.
Perfect. Cheers. I'll get better.
Thank you.
Our thanks to Zac for joining us. What a legend he is, Alex.
Right? And just the mindset and how tough he is to, like, first thing he's thinking about is how fast he can get back into the saddle. And you love to see it. And it's the inspiration to talk to these guys and be around these guys. And you just get exposed to highly competitive people, but just that mindset of getting over adversity, regardless of it's losing a race, losing a mount, or going down in a fall and coming back from an injury. It's an admirable trait, the way these guys think.
Yeah, spot on. All right, well, it's time to preview the feature race at Sha Tin this weekend. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it, but it is a Class 2 over the mile on the turf. And it's an exciting field too. The Golden Scenery looking to recapture some of the winning form that he had earlier on in the season. Sunlight Power, a last out winner and a major player here with Hugh Bowman up. Karma was third behind Sunlight Power last out. That was first off the bench for him, and he's got a terrific record second up. Midwinter Wind. We chatted to Mark Newnham about this exciting horse last week when Mark joined us on the show. Very exciting win in his Hong Kong debut a couple of weeks back, from last to first with Luke Ferraris up. Mickley, fifth in the Classic Mile last out, but found plenty of trouble. The speed map shows Voyage Samurai crossing to the lead from the 10-post. Alex, who's on your radar here? It's a great field.
After talking to Mark and hearing how high they were on the horses, specifically Midwinter Wind, that's what I'm going to go with there. I think just the pace might be on enough for him to be ridden quiet again. Hasn't gone that far up in the rating, only 8 points since last time. And again, with the aspirations of making potentially the Hong Kong Derby with this one, I kind of want to see what he's done. I've soured a bit on some of the ones that I've been on in the past. Mickley, Voyage Samurai, which I'd picked when he'd won. But yeah, I think I'm going to end up on Midwinter Wind here. What about you, Andrew?
Definitely got Midwinter Wind in my trifecta, Alex. I just thought that was a spectacular win. Really exciting to watch, wasn't it? A couple of weeks ago, and that day that Luke Ferraris had a good day as well, winning on My Wish, of course. Mickley, I just thought ran into a lot of trouble, and the speed the race wasn't run to suit last out either. They sort of backed off, and it just didn't really help back markers, and yet he was still there for fifth. So I think with a bit of a stronger tempo today, he should have plenty of speed to run it. He's going to settle back, and I'm just excited to see what maybe Mickley can do over the mile this time. So I've got him on top from Sunlight Power, who was just really impressive last time out, looking for 2 wins on the trot. Huey Bowman on board. And as I mentioned, Midwinter Wind in for my trifecta. You got a trifecta for us in the race?
I'm not sure if I got a trifecta yet at this point, but I do think it's interesting. Johannes Brahms, who everybody was on in the Classic Mile, he comes in here and he's carrying pretty lightweight, gets Zini back on him. If you liked him that day,
Yeah.
I mean, you're probably going to get your price here and get another go at things. It's interesting, like we were talking about a little bit before the show, but just with the medication and or lack thereof in Hong Kong relative to some other jurisdictions like the United States, these horses ran in the first leg of the Classic Series and are coming back a little over 2 weeks to come here. And then there's 2 weeks to the next leg of the series, the Classic Cup at 1800. So, how many are using this as a stepping stone, as potentially like a barrier trial, if you will, to keep fitness level as they go into the 1800? So just a really, really interesting dynamic. And again, then we mix in the jockeys coming over that aren't really familiar with the horses. We've had Vincent ride Karma so many times from the back really well. Now Tom Marcon gets up. Huey jumps on Sunlight Power. It's a really interesting run.
Yeah, some really good points there. Exciting race. It'd be interesting to see how it's run on Saturday night, North American time. Now, I'm going to save my best for last at Sha Tin on the weekend. Race 11, number 3, Bundle Award, who beat Sky Trust last day out to break his Hong Kong maiden. Steps up to a mile of distance he's won over previously at Pakenham, a bit of a country track in the Australian state of Victoria before coming to Hong Kong. So I think he can improve again as he goes through the ranks there in Hong Kong. Race 11, number 3, Bundle Award for me. Alex, is there anything that takes your fancy other than the Midwinter Wind in the feature race?
I don't want to get copycat, but that was one that I was looking at that I kind of liked as well. Yeah. And I'm going to keep watching Invincible Shield for Francis. He looked like he was just kind of in for a run last time from that way outside barrier. He draws inside this time. So I think we should see a different horse here. And he should be a decent price in this one. At least, I don't know what you have on your markets or anything like that, but I would assume over 5-6 to 1.
8 to 1 at the moment, courtesy of our friends at Sky Racing World. So we'll see if that's how accurate that is come race day.
Yeah, I mean he did absolutely nothing first up. Just kind of raced 4 wide against the breeze, 0 cover, the absolute opposite way you want to run in Hong Kong. So for barrier 1, we'll see what he does here. But I know they did have a lot of hope for this horse coming into that first run.
Awesome. We touched on the Saudi Cup, of course, with Zac just a few moments ago. What's your gut feeling at the moment, Alex? Romantic Warrior or Forever Young?
I'm going to stick with the horse that's taken me around the world, Romantic Warrior. And he's just so battle tested, right? Like he doesn't shy away from a fight. Ground shouldn't be an issue with the way he ran in the QE2, where he just kind of fought through that yielding turf and found a way to win. And I've been looking at the forecast, cold mornings, a little bit warmer in the afternoon, but they're getting a bit of rain here today and into tomorrow a little bit. So from what I was told by Mike Smith, he's like, when they put a lot of water on the track, it can tighten up and play more forward. So maybe with rain being in the forecast, there's less water going on and it should play a bit more even, but we'll see. I can't wait to get out there and actually physically put my hands on that surface and touch it and see what it's all about and then make an opinion from there.
That'll be cool. You have to film a little video for us and we'll include it in the show next week. Smooth travels to you. Hope it all goes well. You will, of course, be joining us next week from Saudi on what will be your time Saudi Cup Eve. So we're very excited about that. You can give us all the latest about what's been happening with Romantic Warrior, maybe share some cool photos as well. But yeah, smooth travels, and we'll catch up with you from Saudi next week, Alex.
Cheers.
Thank you, everyone, for watching the Hong Kong Racing Show. Keep following us, HK Racing US on X, and get all your PPs and picks and analysis, replays, trials, and more on the Hong Kong Jockey Club website. And we'll see you next week on the Hong Kong Racing Show.